Today we're going to have a look at this torch. This is under the brand name of Alonefire. I purchased this one on Aliexpress. It's $5.98 and that in UK pounds is going to be currently £4.12, and that's free shipping. It took about 3 weeks or so to arrive. Now it's rated, well, first off it states that it's got a XML T6, that's a Cree LED in it. I'm not 100% sure if it has actually got that in it, but hey ho, we'll see. It did come with a little lanyard type thing attached here. The stupid design, it was far too small. I wouldn't say I've got huge hands, but I certainly couldn't get my hand through it, and as soon as I tried to get my hand through it, it just popped to pieces. So that was the end of that one. On and off button at the top, lens at the front. Got this fancy kind of zoom stuff. It's nothing. It's basically just you can pull this in and out to focus your beam on it. It doesn't claim that it's waterproof, but I have done some tests and I'll get onto that later. The power in it, you can use a 18650 battery. It's just one of the ones I've got lying around that's fully charged at the moment. It will can also be powered by 3 AA batteries. I did have the, let's have a look. Yeah, it comes with this one here. Little battery holder that allows you to put in, 3 AAAs, my mistake, 3 AAA batteries instead of the 18650, and it came with that in the bag. It didn't really come with anything else, just literally the thing in the bag, and that was it, no instructions, and that came with it, and I thought, what on earth's that for? You know, have they just chucked in a bit of plastic? But then I sort of thought about it, I thought, I see, yeah, so you can use it as a kind of, I suppose, it's like a little shim really for the for your 18650 battery, so you can pop it in, keeps it a bit more secure, I guess. And yes, you can obviously just pop that one in on its own if you want to power it by 3 AAA batteries. Now the power is rated as 2000 lumens. Unfortunately it can't be possibly 2000 lumens, because looking at the data sheet for the Cree XML T6 LED, that states that you've got maximum light output of 1040 lumens. So yeah, they're overrating that quite a fair bit there. Battery life, very hard to tell. So far I've tried running, I mean these batteries are not the best, and I will get on to what type of battery you should use if you wish to purchase one of these. But I found you can get probably about 30 to 40 minutes at full brightness, and then it starts to drop off quite a bit. I put in one of these fully charged and ran it for 1 hour, and after 1 hour the battery voltage has dropped down from the 4.2 volts fully charged down to 2.9 volts. So getting close to the sort of 2.5 volt cut-off limit for lithium cells. Now that does bring us on to the issue of batteries. These batteries are unprotected. I haven't actually got any protected cells. I was hoping that the circuitry in here would provide the protection, but it doesn't. As far as I'm concerned, it doesn't. I've dropped it down to, I think I got down to 2.4 volts, and then obviously once you take the battery out, the internal chemistry, it starts to raise the voltage again, but it certainly didn't cut out. The LED just gets dimmer and dimmer and dimmer. So I'd advise, if you're buying one of these torches, to purchase a protected cell so that it will cut itself off at the correct cut-off voltage, so you don't damage the cell in the process of accidentally leaving the torch on. Right, so simple battery in there, and then this is our little end cap with the switch in it, clicky switch. It has 5 modes. We've got a full brightness, medium brightness, low brightness, strobe, and SOS mode. Now with this one, to change the modes, which I expect is similar on various other torches, you just press the button sort of on and off rapidly. I found you can sort of press it sort of halfway in, and that's enough for it to sense that you've changed modes. So we'll kill the lighting and pop the torch on. So this is it on its high mode. Unfortunately, you're probably not going to really get a good idea of the brightness, but it is very bright, and in say took it around a friend's house, you could light up most of their back garden quite nicely with this. The focusing part, you just pull that out, so you can just obviously make that smaller or bigger. It is actually a square pattern. It probably won't show up on camera because you have to get the right distance, but if I shine it at the wall, if I bring it up higher, you can probably see there it's a square pattern. That's obviously the LED chip itself is square, and if you get it in the right position on the wall, you can actually see the lines of LEDs running through it. So that's the focusing, and then we can again for medium, low. Again, you can't really tell much difference with it on camera, and then that's our SOS mode. Obviously skip one, so we go back high, medium, low, strobe, and SOS and back to high. Waterproof? No, I said earlier that I'd talk about that. Pop the lights back on. Now, it doesn't claim to be waterproof. All it claims is that it's aircraft grade aluminium. I don't know whether aircraft grade aluminium is any better, and whether it actually is what they say it is, who knows. It's so cheap, I very much doubt it. Doesn't claim to be waterproof, but I had high hopes for it because you've got this rubber seal here where you screw the battery cover and switch unit back on, so I thought that's quite promising. But this top bit, which you can unscrew, there's no seal on this at all. And of course the sliding mechanism means there must be a way of water getting in via that. So I thought, well, it's cheap, I'll put it for a test. So I filled up the sink with water, turned it on, dropped it in, no problem. No bubbles or anything, wasn't taking in water, that was perfectly fine. If you then use this focusing sort of sliding mechanism, then that's where your problems begin. It sucks in a load of water then, and if you take it out, you'll find that this whole thing is just swimming in water. Also, that then travels down over the battery, which is probably not such a good idea, but I think the resistance of the water is enough that you're not going to create a dead short and damage your battery in there, or cause any fire hazards. And then of course it ends up going into the switch. Now I took it out, dried it out, and seemed to work fine. So I left it for about a week. I hadn't really used it, and picked it up earlier today and went to use it, and it's just not really. Sometimes it would come on, other times you sort of try to change a mode or it just sort of flicker on and off. So I thought, definitely water damaged. But luckily it seemed to only be the switch. Now I think they're right in the outer body is aluminium, but most of the internal parts of the switch, there's a spring, and the metal contacts of the switch are probably some form of steel or something like that, and it rust, and that's what happened to it. So you can get this out if you push hard enough. The whole thing will pop apart and then you can dismantle it. So that's what I did, and I cleaned it up with some isopropyl alcohol and dried it out thoroughly, put it back together again, and that seems to be working okay so far. So I'd say that if you're wanting a fully waterproof torch, this is definitely not the one to go for. But if you want a torch that's obviously likely to survive if you did drop it in a puddle or something, or even if you dropped it in the sink, so long as you sort of get it out relatively quickly and don't move that mechanism up and down, I think you should be okay. Now the top unscrews, it's just our lens there, and this is the inside of the torch. I'll see if I can zoom in a bit on the LED there. Okay, so that's about as close as I can bring you in really. I'll bring it up to the camera It'll probably go out of focus again, but that's the that's our LED in there, and like I say, they say it's a Cree XML T6, but yeah, who knows. It seems to be okay. This does come apart a certain amount. This one, if you use one of these circlip tools, you can get this in the brass ring and then rotate that. And then I find once you got it loose, you just find something you can sort of just pair of tweezers here. You can just spin that around, and the brass ring pops out. And then we've got a little plastic cover, which is obviously to protect the any short circuits with the brass ring. This is our LED board on here. So on here we've got Lattice Bright version 2, and that will come out there, and we can see that we've got another PCB down the bottom there. Now I don't see any kind of control chip on that, so I'm guessing it's on the underside of that board, but I've not managed to get that one out yet. Logic would say that you can get your circlip tool in here and unscrew that, but it you know, it's really not budging, so I expect they probably glued it or something. So I don't really want to break the torch completely, although I did nearly by chucking it in the sink. But so I won't take that out any further. But obviously you can pop that little plastic cover. It's a bit fiddly to get in, I think mainly because I've had it apart and a few times and it stretches the cables slightly. Let's try and get it to hold in so you can get the brass ring back on again. Oh, and while I'm trying to get this thing back together again, not brilliant for heat dissipation. The whole thing does get very hot, so it's obviously doing something, but as you can see, there's, because of the way it sits in this little well, the only part for this to really touch, it looks like it's an aluminium backed PCB there, but you just got this outer ring that's running around there, and that's all that it touches on. There's no thermal paste or anything. I thought I might sort of put a smidging of paste or something just around the outside of that. Probably would have been nicer if they had a design with a back plate that you could put in and then sort of stick the LED onto that and have the wires coming through a little hole in the middle or something like that, I should expect. Let's try. So this tends to be a bit fiddly because it tends to have a tendency it pops back out again. Normally if you get the plastic outer little ring in, sometimes holds it in enough. It's not playing ball at the moment. Let's try again. There we are, I think we've got it. The other thing to mention, sorry I was a bit off shot there. The other thing to mention with this is when I received it, I don't think this ring was screwed, well it wasn't screwed fully in, because the, it was sort of like that, so that it's not doing it now, but the whole board was wobbling about in the bottom there. Actually I think I've got that slightly wrong. It's very hard to get it absolutely centered, but yeah, the whole thing was a bit loose, which obviously wouldn't help much with the heat dissipation. So I'll say if you get one, probably it's a good idea just to take the top bit off and just check that this is screwed reasonably tightly down, and then that one just pops back on there. I've not tried it on the AAA batteries. I'd imagine it probably won't last 5 minutes, and unless you're using rechargeables it's not really worth it. So I tend to just use the 18650, but I think what we'll do is get a protected cell and then test it again to see how long we're going to get on the different modes before the battery actually cuts out, because that would be a much better indication rather than just letting it go dim. So I'll do that in a week or two, and I'll probably report back on that at a later date. So there we are, that's a general overview and look at this Alonefire supposed Cree XML T6 torch. Thanks for watching.